Welcome to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. I am Beth Cooper.
I'm Stacey Early Wine, and baby, it's cold outside.
Yeah, the heat is on at my house.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
I am that. Okay, so I must confess, I am probably the only person in the world that loves the smell when you turn the heater on the first time.
Yes, I used to always like that smell too.
It should be a candle.
Mm-hmm.
Burning dust.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim was like, you are the weirdest person.
Uh-huh.
But I don't, because back in the day, you'd have to physically, turn it on and it go, and then you'd smell it.
Yeah.
But it happened in the middle of the night because I guess everything's automatic now.
Yeah.
So if it's, I don't know.
Yeah, it was just set to come on if the temperature got to a certain time.
Yeah.
Or place. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I'm not digging that so much, so I could just barely smell it this morning when I came up.
Shoot.
But yeah, I think it should be a candle.
Yeah, well, make it happen. Burning. Well, what could we title that candle? The first furnace run of the year.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Furnace Inferno.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, it got a little cold on us, I think, this week that we're recording. It's supposed to be pretty chilly, I think. Mm-hmm. Pretty much all week long, which that's fine.
That's fine. It's that time of year. It makes me happy.
Yeah, I haven't given up my flip. I'm wearing flip flops right now. I will wear them
really?
for a while. Yeah, I like my flip flops, and I'll work in them because I tell you what, when I'm working, I get hot, and so it's one of those things that I'll wear shoes into the shop and then put my because I love working in those Croc flip flops. I can work in them things all day long and not having trouble.
Not me. I got my socks and my loafers on.
I never wear socks. Never. Even when I'm wear shoes, I am not a sock person.
Oh, I'm all the time socks.
Are you a sock person, Abby?
I got fuzzy socks on right now.
She's got fuzzy socks.
See, I'm digging those boots she's wearing. Those are pretty cute.
Yeah, cute.
Yeah.
Boot weather.
I like boots.
Mm-hmm.
I like to wear boots.
Me too.
There's something about these boots were made for walking.
And
yeah.
That's just what they'll do.
Because some of these days, these boots are gonna walk
all over
you.
you.
And but it's I like boot wear. I think we've had this conversation before. I love fall clothing. Mm-hmm. I love fall and winter clothing better than I do spring and summer.
Me too. Much cozier.
Oh yeah, and there's some really cute stuff. I'm feeling a Cato's run.
Yeah,
I'm feeling a Cato's run.
Yep.
See what the color is this year. Every season.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite is when it's the mustard yellow.
Yeah, that color looks good on you.
I love that color. Of course, yellow and orange are tied for my favorite colors. Yellow probably outdoes orange a little bit.
Does it?
Yeah, I love yellow, man. I think it's just fun.
I'm more into the reds and the purples.
Yeah, you're red purple.
The
girl.
royal blues. Mm-hmm. That's me.
Yeah,
but.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. We're closing in on volleyball season.
Yep, Carissa's playing volleyball this year, and season is wrapping up. She's only got a handful of games left. Tonight's a home game, but by the time this airs, it'll be done. But yeah.
How many more? Do you know?
I do not know.
Tournaments are done except for whenever you go into that regionals and stuff.
I don't know. I feel like there's about 4 or 5 games left.
Okay, we have
total.
One home, one away this week, right?
Yes. Thursday night is away at El Dorado.
Mm-hmm. My favorite time of year is kicking in the children's Christmas play for Nostalgia Theater.
Yeah, Nostalgia Theater, and the dates for that play are Saturday, December 7th
at 7 o'clock, and then Sunday, December 8th at 3 o'clock. And we've got a young group.
Yeah.
Usually it's we have a lot of older kids, and then we have this young, just a few younger. We've swapped.
Yeah, a lot of our kids graduated out last year, so we still have some high schoolers, but we lost a good chunk of junior high kids, and then we have a little group of young kids that are probably going to have small parts, but they're going to be so fun to watch. So.
They are, and don't forget the elves who are kindergartners. Because we got all these little kindergartners that I want to do it, and I can't tell them no. So we made them elves, so that could be very, very, but Adara's going to be our elf wrangler.
Yes.
That'll be good because she wanted to be in it, but was going to miss most all things. So I'm like, well, I really can't do a speaking part. However, dress Adara, and Adara can sing.
Perfect.
So she'll be so that's good. Perfect. I'm anxious to see who say, I don't know. I'm just excited about this one because it's going to be totally different than what we've done before. We've always had. What is this? Is this our fourth?
Fourth Christmas, children's Christmas play.
We did the Christmas Carol. Christmas, the Wizard of Oz, Christmas in the Land of Oz. And then this may be 5.
I think this is 5.
And then it was North Pole's Got Talent.
Yes. And then Everyone's Christmas Story.
Everyone's Christmas Story. My goodness, this is number 5.
5. So if you like to watch live performances, come out to Nostalgia Theater, which is in the former Town Theater building in Flora on December the 7th or December the 8th and catch this play. It'll be super cute.
It is. And this one is Santa's Workshop Toy School.
Yep. They're all going to be toys.
They're all going to be toys. And I'm excited to see the costumes. But see, I'm not a costume. I can't, I'm just when it comes to costumes, my husband is the costume person. I'm just okay, I'm not really sure. But then, because then you mentioned something last night, of course, then Laura Smith, God bless Laura Smith, because she doesn't know this yet, but now she's got to make a Jack in the Box.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. We're going to have some cute stuff. You're not going to want to miss it.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For sure.
It's going to be interesting. So it's going to be fun. And we're just now starting. We met all of our new kids last night. So anxious to get going on that.
Yep.
So
and if you're an adult watching and you wish that you could be in the play, we do have a spring play.
Yes,
so contact us and let us know if you're interested. You can reach out to us at, by the way, with Beth and Stacey at gmail.com if you're interested in that. That won't be until April or May.
Yeah. It used to be May. I moved it up to April, and I like it in April.
I like it in April, too. May is way too busy.
May is way too busy. We moved it up to April. I can't remember the date, probably the middle, and we start practicing in February.
Yeah.
For that.
So,
but yeah.
If you're interested, reach out to us way before February.
But it's already cast for the children. I can't take any more children because we're pretty full.
But the adult one is open.
Another interesting thing I'm very excited about, Nostalgia Theater had its first wedding reception.
Yes.
And it went over beautifully.
It was gorgeous in there. If you're looking for a venue for your wedding or wedding reception or whatever, check out Nostalgia Theater.
It was amazing, and so we have professional pictures coming, and we will post those. And the bride and groom said yes, we can do that.
Yep, so, we're Nostalgia on Facebook. You can follow us there. You can follow us on By the Way with Beth and Stacey, both pages on Facebook.
Yeah, so very excited.
Yes,
lots of moving and shaking.
That's right,
moving and shaking, and we're going to be selling ads.
I think that you picked out a really cool ad from that magazine I had last week.
You think I did?
Yep. Did you?
I think so. I don't know. I just thought it was very interesting. Because we did, this is a Western Electric. Okay.
Yep, I looked at this one. Yeah,
did you look at this one
I almost picked it for last week.
I mean, this is insane. It's a telephone ad. More telephone service coming for you through close-knit teamwork by these two. He's service, I'm supply. The Bell system. Western Electric has always been an integral part of your Bell telephone service, helping to make it the world's best at the lowest possible cost. Because this magazine was from the 40s, right? Isn't that right?
Yeah, 1947.
47. But I remember Western Electric. I'm not sure if it's still. But can you imagine? Okay. I mean, I just think it's crazy. Because down the bottom, you got the little people. It's manufacturer of 43,000 varieties of telephone. Purchaser of supplies of all kinds for telephone companies. Distributor of telephone apparatus and supplies, and the installer of telephone central office equipment. I just thought that was, I can't even fathom what it would have been like.
To keep adding in phone lines.
To keep adding in phone lines.
All those operators, they're all lined up, and meanwhile, the men at this end are just putting in more and more stations for more and more operators to sit there.
Yeah.
So
I don't even know how nerve-wracking it would have been to have been a telephone operator.
Yeah.
What do you even, Because it's like, I'm picturing, because literally you're calling the operator and then she's sending you to somebody else, right? That's how we showed a picture of an old telephone, one of the original telephone operators from Clay County, I believe.
And she has to know where to plug it in at. And
yeah.
There's like all these little holes. Like, how do you remember what's what?
And, I mean, it's like, okay, at the time, it's the one number, so you never know which one. It's kind of like 911. You know, you never know who you're going to get. I don't know. I saw that, and I was like, that is the craziest thing. I cannot imagine. Hello, who
do they even have operators anymore? Like, if you dial 0, do you even get an operator?
It's probably AI. I would think it would be artificial intelligence.
I can remember when I was a kid talking to an operator.
I remember. Well, yeah, if you remember, I remember. I remember talking to an operator. That wasn't that long ago.
I know.
But today.
They're all out of jobs these days.
But today it's probably all, it's got to be that artificial stuff. I just don't like that artificial intelligence.
No, it scares me.
It makes me so nervous.
Yeah, I think our future is going to be much different with that in it.
Yeah. How much longer do you think it's going to take to get to the Jetsons era?
I don't know.
That maid.
I do not know.
I'd kill for that robot maid, not going to lie.
Yeah.
What was her name?
Rosie.
Rosie.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, I don't want the flying cars. I don't want the flying cars. But that, as far as the Jetsons go, I would take that. I would take Rosie the maid. Mm-hmm. That would be great.
Yeah, I'd take one of her. For sure.
I don't know. I just think I don't know. I don't care for the artificial intelligence. Makes me nervous. And then you're calling, and then they're so sorry. I can't. And why are some men and some women?
Like AI?
Yeah.
I don't know, but
I don't get it.
Like on your phone, you can pick. Like if you have Siri on your phone or whatever, you can make it female or male.
I don't trust any of that stuff. I don't want Alexa in my house.
Yeah, I don't trust that either. But I'm just saying, your phone does have it.
She probably is already on there.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's man or I don't even know.
You don't know? You never use her?
I don't.
Like in the car for directions or anything? She doesn't speak up and
say, that's a woman. That's who you're talking about.
That's who I'm talking about. So yours is a female.
I guess she's a girl. Must be just who came.
Well, I made mine British.
Yeah, because, I want to make mine Irish.
Hey Siri, say something in your accent.
I can't translate into your accent.
She can't translate. Makes her just easier to. I don't know. I like hearing the accent.
I just changed my mind. Can you make mine sound like Medea?
I don't know.
I love Medea. Medea's my
I don't know,
spirit
but
animal.
you can pick like English accent, Australian accent. I don't know if there's a Medea. I don't know if ghetto is one of them.
Medea. Medea is my spirit animal.
I would be a little scared to have a ghetto accent giving me directions. It would be like, pull into that blankety blank parking lot,
Are you stupid fool? Turn around.
Yeah.
But Medea accent would be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be great. That's just one more thing for Tyler Perry to make $1 billion off of.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So fun. But anyway, we're going to take a commercial break, and I think Beth is going to come back. We got an interesting story from a gentleman from Richland County, I think.
We sure do.
We're venturing out a little bit. We'll be right back.
At your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville, you can count on experts to have the solutions to keep you running on the road or in the field. More than just your car, the Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville carry a large inventory of Napa products for farms, heavy trucks, and just about everything that moves. Experienced associates understand your needs and are ready to help with the perfect part at a great value. That's Napa Know-How at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville. Briscoe Surplus Sales on the northeast edge of Flora is your one-stop do-it-all shop. Looking for rugged boots and footwear from great brands like Lacrosse, Rocky, and Carolina? They're there. How about top-notch small engine parts and service? Briscoe Surplus Sales has it. Whether you're wiring your switches or switching your wiring, Briscoe Surplus Sales has the solution and the know-how to help you get the job done right the first time. Briscoe Surplus Sales, your one-stop do-it-all shop.
We like technology at Flora Savings Bank. Here's what you can accomplish in our mobile banking app in less than 30 seconds. See account balances in your transactions, set up an account alert, make a transfer between accounts, get an alert text message about your transfer, pay a bill, turn your debit card off and then back on. It all happens in the palm of your hand with our free My Bank to Go app. Search My Bank to Go in the App Store or Google Play and give mobile banking a try. Flora Savings Bank, member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. We have an interesting story today, Stace.
Yes.
It is from Richland County, but this guy, he lived in Olney later, but he lived in Noble. He's in the area, and he had a really cool story, and I just happened upon him, and I thought, man, I got to talk about this guy.
Okay.
So his name was Colonel W.E. Alcorn.
Alcorn.
Okay. Alcorn, and the W.E. stood for William Edgar. So William Edgar Alcorn, he was in the Navy. He was a colonel. So he was born way back in April of 1817.
Ooh.
So we're going way back. Mm-hmm. He's the son of a guy named James Alcorn, and his mother's name was Margaret. Okay, so I'm mentioning James because he also has an interesting history. So James goes even way back into the 1700s. So the mother, Margaret, she was born in Baltimore, but James was born in Ireland. Okay, and at the age of 2, he was brought to this country. Not James. William was brought over here at age 2, okay?
Yeah.
And then his mother, she died just 2 years later. So his mom died when he was 4. But the interesting thing about James is when James was only 5 years old, he bound himself out to a sea captain for 6 years.
He was what? How old?
5. So back then, the Navy, like when you were a kid, like if you had a bunch of kids in your family and your parents couldn't afford all of you kids, like you were apprenticed out to people. You know, you went to work basically as a slave. Like you didn't get paid, but you got fed. Wow. So at 5 years old, he was sent. And
my
he
angel baby Jack is 5.
I know. That's why I'm telling you this. He was sent to be on a ship, apprenticed to a captain, a sea captain on a boat. Can you imagine sending your 5-year-old baby off to sea? One, back then, a lot of ships never made it back. Okay, there's that to worry about. But 2, it's a ship full of grown men that drink and are rowdy, rambunctious bunch. That's who's basically going to raise him. And he has to do their whatever they need. Run and get this, climb this, do this. Not much rest and no play. I mean, but that's how it was for some kids.
That's right.
Like,
oh my gosh.
Is that not heartbreaking?
That's
5 years
terrifying.
Old. He went out for 6 years. So that meant that he was on there until he was 11. And then after that, he stayed with ships. And he himself became really into shipping and way up there in the Navy and stuff.
So he survived it.
Okay, so back to that was the dad, but back to William.
Okay.
He was in the United States Navy for 32 years. And then because he was not a Democrat, he was dismissed from the Navy Yard by General Jackson with 250 others. So back then, like whoever the president was, like they could just fire you if you didn't like go along with what.
If you weren't their political party. That's interesting.
So, James, the dad, he was a very prominent man, and he, along with Colonel Alcorn, the son, saw many of the leading men in the nation. They met a ton of presidents. We're going to go through those in a little bit. But they were way up high in the Navy. Okay. So.
How would anybody know what you were if you were back? I mean, of course, you would have to be declared.
You probably had a button.
You probably
or a
did
pin.
have you probably
had bars on your. Yeah.
Wow. So they've been, never mind.
Okay, so James, in his career, he sunk ships across Baltimore Harbor to keep the British out in the War of 1812. But then William, he saw General Lafayette in Baltimore in the year 1824. He was taken by his father to Washington in 1825 to see John Quincy Adams inaugurated president. How cool. I mean, that's something cool. I mean,
that's neat.
To be able to see all of these high up people. And the dad, James, probably thought, this is cool. I'm giving my kid this childhood. Yeah. Because my childhood was on a ship working from the age of 5. Yeah. But I'm able to, I don't know. He also saw John Quincy Adams lay the cornerstone of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, the B&O Railroad. That goes right through Flora. So General Jackson was the person that laid the first cornerstone for that. Didn't know that until yesterday or the day before when I found this article. And, so
and how
he got to see that.
The last name is what?
Alcorn, Alcorn. So he wasn't born in Olney, but he's going to end up in Olney.
Alcorn.
In Noble.
Huh.
Alcorn.
Interesting name. I'm going to write that down.
On the 4th of March, 1829, he saw General Jackson inaugurated, and about 6 weeks later saw him break dirt for the Ohio and Chesapeake Canal at Georgetown. And on the 26th of April, 1831, so this is a couple years later, he saw young John Randolph of Virginia, who was turned out of the Navy Yard in which he was a lieutenant at the same time as James. Mm-hmm. At that time, young Randolph wrung General Jackson's nose. I don't know what this meant. Did he go up and go,
Well, yeah, I'm not sure.
Because he's the one of the guys that got fired because he was a Democrat, okay? Was this John Randolph.
He got fired because he wasn't a Democrat.
Right, wasn't a Democrat.
So he got fired.
Yes, and so then whenever I guess he ran back into General Jackson, he wrung his nose, which I think would mean just, I don't know. How do you wrung?
Because I'm confused about the because this is pretty early on. Mm-hmm. So because I thought at this time we were Whigs. I didn't think that there was a Democrat or Republican Party yet.
Well, I'm telling you what, I don't know that for sure. We'd have to research that
I've got
because
some researching
I have 2 articles here on this Alcorn, and they both say that. So I don't know, the writers of these local columns. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. Maybe they translated it to something better we would understand. I don't know.
Interesting. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
okay. Let's see where I'm at. After he wrung his nose, they then drove everybody off the Sydney. The Sydney was a mailboat that was carrying mail from Washington City to Potomac Creek. And Randolph went into the wharf, pulled 2 pistols from his pocket, and challenged any of Jackson's friends to fight a duel with him. Mr. Alcorn's father, that would have been James, who was present, called out 3 cheers for Randolph. The duel, however, was not fought. So when he cheered for Randolph, did that mean that he wanted to duel him or that he was for? I think it meant he was for him.
I think so.
Because they would have both been 2 of the ones that got fired. So he was like, yeah, you go. You go. You duel somebody over this. And then everyone else was like, no, thanks.
We're not in the mood now. We're done.
That's probably after the Hamilton duel, I would bet. I don't know.
Funny.
So James had left the Navy. He had a whole bunch of kids. William Edgar was one of them. That's the main guy we're talking about. But one of his kids was George. This would be William's brother. He went out on a sea whaling vessel and was never heard of again afterward. See, that's the thing about sending all your boys out to sea. Like, you just, that one never heard from again. Yeah. Okay. So,
I can't believe that was a thing. I'm not surprised, but boy, that's scary.
I know.
But look how well the dad did for himself.
He did good.
It would be interesting to know what the statistics on the children that died or was killed or thrown overboard
just
or
like thinking about him, like what kind of person was he? Like he went on to do a bunch of great things and raise a bunch of kids, but was he a nice guy? Was he pretty hard around the edges? Did he know how to father all of these kids he had? Because he himself
was not fathered
unless he had a really nice sea captain that kind of fathered him, but most of I just picture all these sea guys as like not good guys. Well, and I mean, that's probably not true. Any group that you have, there's always bad guys and good guys. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm hoping he was with good guys. But when you think about a crew of men on a ship in the 1700s,
no.
I mean, I'm picturing, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just a different world. And they were.
I don't know.
What they eat and just.
I don't know.
5 years old. That is a. Little baby.
I take Jack to school and that line at school, I pull in apart because I'm gonna watch it. I as his yaya, his grandma, like he won't let me walk him in anymore, but I stand there and I physically watch that little boy till he walks inside that school. I stand there and I cannot leave till I see that boy go inside the school. I don't think I'd be able to send my 5-year-old off.
Yeah, can you imagine just driving him, or not even driving him, walking him down to the sea and be like,
and his mom,
love you, bye.
And did mom even have a choice?
Probably not. The dad was probably, if he did have it, it was like, some of these kids have got to go as soon as they're old enough, you've got to shoo them away. We can't afford them.
Yeah, I am glad I live in the time that I live in.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it must have been pretty harsh back in the 1700s.
I'd say so, unless you had money, and I'm guessing that they didn't. Which I think he probably was determined after his childhood to not have that happen with his kids and to have some money.
Right.
So he stuck with being on the sea and actually ended up making money and becoming a pretty prominent man.
Well, if you're around the founding fathers.
Yeah, he's around these guys,
and
he's considered a prominent citizen. Yeah. He himself doesn't have the title of colonel.
No.
But he was, I don't know what his title was, and he doesn't really have one, but he was on all of these ships.
Yeah.
So,
jeez,
I don't know, but his son went on to become colonel. So he did, I wonder at what age Williams, it doesn't say anywhere, but what age did William go out to sea? Right. Because he raised sailors. He was a sailor that raised sailors. So what year, how, I wonder.
I don't know. We need to take a commercial break, and then we will come right back with more of this interesting story. We'll be right back.
If you're looking for a loan for your brand new home, call Clay County State Bank. If you want to transfer money so your future will look sunny, call Clay County State Bank. We got checking and savings and bill pay too.
An online banking, just ask our crew. For all your banking needs, we think you will agree.
Clay County State Bank is the place you need to be. Clay County State Bank.
At Clay City Banking Company, we're all on the same team, regardless of zip code. At home, work, school, or across the country, you can be part of our team with our cutting-edge mobile banking products. From your hand, you can check balances, transfer money, make deposits, and pay bills. Looking for a loan? We've got you covered with our mortgage, agriculture, commercial, and consumer loans. Join our team today. Clay City, Flora, Louisville, and Fairfield Banking Companies. We're the hometown banks, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Tomorrow. Some fear the uncertainty it brings. Some trust the promise it holds. At Grinnell Mutual, we are always looking forward to tomorrow, growing and innovating. So even if the plans you have for the future aren't the same as the plans that the future holds for you, you can be ready. Because we'll be ready, like we have been for over 100 years. Trust in that. Trust in tomorrow. Talk to your mutual agent today.
Your local agent is on the square. Louisville, Clay County Farmers Mutual Insurance.
Welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. I'm talking about an interesting guy named Colonel William Edgar Alcorn. And we were talking about wonder how long he was, a sailor and what year he started. I don't know how old he was when he started, but I know that he spent almost his whole life in the naval service. And in 1837, he shipped on the vessel Eagle of Boston, and he went to Amsterdam. He was on the high seas for 18 years. He was on our southern and western rivers for 20 years. And then in 1836, Texas had trouble with Santa Ana, and then he became a member of the Texan Navy, which I don't know a lot about the history of Texas, but I know they've had issues down there around this time. He was in the Battle of San Jacinto above Lynchburg. And then in 1846, Colonel Alcorn fitted up a new vessel, and it was built at Cincinnati, and it was called Ann Chase. And it was to be used by the United States troops in the Mexican War. So this ship was loaded at Cincinnati with wagons and with government stores like food and anything you might need, loaded all up. And then it was floated down the river, which would have been the Mississippi, all the way to New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And there the cargo was taken off, and another cargo of wagons and ammunition of war was taken on. And while at New Orleans, payday came, and Mr. Alcorn received his pay for the past 7 months. So he had went 7 months without a paycheck. I'm not sure how people do that. And I don't know why it was so irregular, how often they got paid, but With some of the crew, he then started with the ship for Brazos, Santiago. Okay, so he's going to Brazil. And at the mouth of the Sabine River, the vessel blew up. So this is his brand new ship, and it blows up when they get about to Brazil. I don't know why. Huh. The captain, who had been placed in charge just as she was ready to sail and knew nothing about steamers, asked Mr. Alcorn what to do. On the suggestion of our subject, which would be Mr. Alcorn, he said, drop the anchor. Drop the anchor, and the wreck was cleared away. So 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they lowered a boat. They put 4 men into it, and the captain of the ship, which was not Colonel Alcorn, he was on there, but they went ashore. And then they wrote a letter to the authorities at New Orleans, and they said that their boat had blown up, and they asked for a tugboat to come tow them into Galveston. So here they are all the way down at Brazil. Boat blows up. And I don't know how many men were on the ship. They only put 4 on the little boat. Went to the shore, and probably in the jungle, I'm betting. I don't know. Gosh. And said, come send us a towboat. So first they had to wait for the letter to get all the way to Texas that they mailed. I guess maybe they weren't in the jungle if there was a mail post office. Okay. So then they had to wait for the letter to get there, the letter to be read and then acted upon, and then sailed down there to get him. I can't imagine how long they were there. Okay. Their request was granted, and after repairing the boiler of the boat at Galveston, they once again loaded it and then started back to Brazil. They finally reached their destination, disposed of their cargo, took another boat of cargo stuff there, picked up more load, and a month later started back to New Orleans. But the second night out, the boat went ashore in a gale. And so complete was the wreck that she was never again fit for service. So this was still the brand new boat built in Cincinnati. Came down to Galveston, then went to Brazil, then blew up, then they waited, then they went back to Galveston, filled it up again, fixed the boat, came back down, then got hit by a huge old wind, probably a hurricane or something. And,
and it's funny, you like when the boat breaks or whatever, that you don't just go to the boat store and get a new one.
No.
Everything has to be rebuilt again, and it's not like there's just hotels and everything. Can you imagine what it would be like you're stranded?
Yeah, you're stranded, and
you're absolutely stranded. You don't get paid every 7 months.
It's interesting to me,
though.
There's
no credit cards.
Yeah, no kidding. It's interesting to me that he survived all of this, because you think about a boat blowing up and you're in the middle of the ocean or whatever. You don't think that your odds are good that you're gonna.
No, because the Meg and Jaws are both out there.
Right, but I guess the boat maybe didn't sink, just the motor blew up. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
But then he gets crashed by a big old wind, and he survived that too. I don't know. Okay, so after all of this, in October of 1846, he married Miss Anne Maria Rowe, was her last name, the daughter of William and Anne Rowe.
Now, where
and she was from Indiana.
Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now, okay. Now he's made his way into Indiana.
Yeah. So he would have been 28 years old. I'm doing math. I'm doing math. So he'd already lived all of this shit.
28 years old.
He's 28 years old. He decides to get married. Okay. 6 children were born to them. John, which I happen to know only lived a short time. Orlando, William Edward, Maggie, Cordelia, and James. Okay, but his poor wife, Anne Maria, she died in June of 1862. Now, from my research on Find a Grave, there's one child, and it's not listed here, and it's not listed in a lot of places, but it is listed on Find a Grave, and her name was Madeline. Okay, Madeline died at the same time as Anne Maria. Oh. So I'm pretty sure she died in childbirth, or as a complication from childbirth. That child is not listed as
fairly young then.
That child is not listed as in this article. The other article, I didn't find anything about her on Ancestry. Nothing. It was just only on Find a Grave. But I found her grave where she's buried. So she did it. She was born. She just didn't live. Okay. So after
Goodness.
The first wife died, Anne Maria. Colonel Alcorn got married again because that's what you did back then, and he needed a mother for his kids because he was probably out to sea. So he married Mary Jane Vandela. Okay, so they became the parents of 11 children. 11 plus 6.
Gosh.
17 kids.
17 children.
He had 17 kids. Plus Madeline, who's not listed. There's 18.
There's 18.
And who knows? There could be others that were stillborn or something they didn't list. So
that is crazy. Yeah, that's, oh my gosh. 17 children. I can't even go there.
But out of these 11 children, I believe there are still descendants in Olney.
Oh, probably.
Okay, so out of the 11 children, there was George. He moved to Columbia, Tennessee. Philip, it said that at the time this was written, which was quite a long time ago, that they resided in Olney. So Philip Alcorn. Then he had a son.
I think that the name sounds familiar to me.
He had a son, and I love it when they do this and they honor like past president. They named him Ulysses Grant. Alcorn. Ulysses Grant Alcorn. And he apparently lived in Olney too. I don't know if any of his descendants are there. Then there was Anna, there was Henry Clay, Laura, Clara, Ethel, Bessie, Mary, and I think another John. Okay, so along came another war. This would have been the Civil War.
I was going to say,
Along came the Civil War, and Colonel Alcorn entered the service of his country in 1863. He was in the 223rd.
He's not a young man.
Ohio Infantry.
At this point, right?
Nope, but he survived the war, and I don't know if he served the entire war, but he was definitely there for a while. And then after that is when he came to Olney.
Okay. So this man's fought and been in sea.
Been at sea.
War.
Is on his second wife. Has had this.
Lost children. Lost wife. Married again. Gosh.
Survived boat crashes, boat blow-ups, all this stuff, and he's still pretty young.
And is in the Civil War.
And is in the Civil War. Do you think he might possibly have like what we call PTSD today?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
All he's seen? Good night.
Of course, back in the day, people had grit and gumption.
They did have grit.
They didn't have PTSD.
Well, I think they still had it. They just didn't have a name for it. They just dealt with it. Okay, so after the war, he came to Olney and he purchased a farm of 850 acres north of Noble.
Okay, I'm getting my
bearings. That's pretty big.
There. So he's in Richland County.
850
okay.
Acres. It's real pretty down through there too, like north. It kind of gets a little hilly a little bit through there.
I don't think I've ever really been too much north of.
There's a road that you can cut through north of Noble, and it goes it's kind of like a good way to go to Oblong.
Yeah, north of Noble.
Yeah, it's a real nice road. It's kind of like Blue Mound, but it just takes you straight up, almost really close to. You come out really close to Oblong. I know that because there's a quilt shop in Oblong.
Yeah. Oblong's got some cute. Yeah, we're familiar. Jim's from Robinson, so we're very familiar with Palestine and Oblong. Yeah. Cute stores in Oblong, too. And a great little junk-teak store.
Yes.
Yeah.
So after he had the farm of all the acres, he traded some of that for 16 houses and lots in the city of Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay.
He's kind of smart with real estate. He's thinking. And
he's in Noble, but then he trades that.
He trades some of his acres there for some houses and lots in Indy because he recognizes the fact that they're going to be worth more. People are moving there. Okay, so he retained ownership of 320 acres of his 850. So he traded off a good chunk of it, but I think, probably made a good investment.
Probably.
He lived in Noble for a long time, and then in 1879 he built a residence in Olney. and that is where he made his home. Him and his wife were members of the Methodist Episcopal Church in Olney, and he belonged to the Bowyer Post number 92 GAR. What's that? GAR? I don't know.
I don't know what the GAR was.
Is that like kind of like the American Legion before there was the American Legion, something like that? Bowyer Post number 92 GAR. I'm not sure.
I don't know what that would be.
In politics, he was a very strict Republican. In 1836, he voted for William Henry Harrison in New York City. In 1840, he and a party went down the river on a steamer and landed in Ohio. And he supported the Tippecanoe hero. Remember that? Tippecanoe and Tyler, too. In 1844, in Mobile, Alabama, he voted for Henry Clay. So, see, he was all over the place before he settled. After the war is when he settled around our area. But before the Civil War, he was all over. In 1848, in Cincinnati, he voted for Zachary Taylor. And then he was in California in 1852. He lost his vote, but in 1856, he supported Millard Fillmore. But in 1860 and in 1864, he cast his ballot for, who ran for president then?
1864?
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
The man himself.
And he voted for Abraham Lincoln. Yep. And then in 1868 and 1872, he voted for General Ulysses S. Grant.
I'd say he liked Grant.
Yep. I mean, he named a child
after him, so there you go.
Yep. In 1876, he supported Hayes. In 1880, he supported Garfield. In 1884, he supported Blaine, which I'm thinking was a loser because I never heard of President Blaine.
There's President Blaine?
No, I'm saying he must have been. He must have lost. That's who he voted for in 1884.
Okay, but, so he lost.
Yeah. In 1888 and 1892, he voted for Benjamin Harrison. He took an active interest in politics and the success of his party. He had a wide circle of friends and acquaintances who held him in high regard. And yeah, he was a pretty cool guy. But I couldn't find a picture of him, but let's show a picture, Ty, of his gravestone. And we'll talk about where he's buried. Do I need to take a commercial break?
Yeah, let's take a quick commercial break and then we'll come back.
We'll come back with the pictures.
Do you bowl like this? That's great. Do you bowl like this? That's great too. That's because whether you're a pro or you just want to have a lot of fun, at Peggle's Silver Dollar Lanes, we have a lane for you. We have galaxy bowling, gaming for kids and adults, Joe's Pizza, a full bar, darts, pool, and fresh and clean bowling shoes. Boy, does that smell nice. So come on down to Peggle Silver Dollar Lanes in Effingham, where we have a lane for you.
My name is Robin Stanford. I own Stanford Marketing. It's a promotional products business along with an embroidery business. And we do custom hats, t-shirts, anything, you name it, we can make it. People like that we do stuff in-house and we can actually make things here and that we're not contracting the work out to other places. We never say no. We always try to find a way to do it. If anybody can do it, we can do it. We are hardworking women, that is for sure. Come to Stanford Marketing in Flora for all your custom and promotional needs.
Jimmy ordered lumber, doors, paint, windows, electrical, plumbing, and much more. Oh yeah, Jimmy ordered guns too.
John Lucas.
What?
You better be dreaming about all the stuff we sell here at Zink Building Center.
Oh, I would. Zink Building Center in Louisville on Route 45. It's a cool place.
Welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. We're talking about a guy named Colonel William Edgar Alcorn who settled in the Noble and Olney area. Pretty neat guy, had a really cool naval history, but I couldn't find any pictures of him because he was from a long time ago. He was born in 1817, but he has a really cool stone in the cemetery. So we're going to take a look at that.
Where is he buried at?
Well, that is a good question.
Oh my.
Okay, this is a beautiful stone. And on the front, it says W.E. Alcorn. And then above it, it has in memoriam of his first wife. Okay, Anna Maria was her name. It has a little thing about her. There's a bunch of engraving on the side that I couldn't totally make out. I think somebody ought to take a little care of this stone and clean it up a little bit. But I'm not entirely sure where he's buried because there's conflicting information out there. Okay, so on Find a Grave, he is listed as being buried at Haven Hill Cemetery in Olney. Okay, so that is where it is said that he is buried. Maybe he is. I don't know. But this stone with his first wife's name on it is not, as far as I can tell, in Haven Hill Cemetery. In fact, it is in Spring Grove Cemetery in Cincinnati, Ohio, which I think is where they were when she died.
Oh.
Okay, so I think what happened is
that her stone?
I think it is her stone, but they also went ahead and put his name on it, knowing that.
Well, he's young and going to move on.
Yeah, but let's take a couple other looks at that. We got other angles.
Oh,
this is a small child on top. Now, I believe that some of their children died young. Like they had 2 girls out of the first 6 that were born to the first wife, okay? They had 2 girls. One was named Maggie. She was only 4 years old. And then Emma, who was only 2 years old, and they died within a month of each other in 1860. Okay? So that was in 1860. The mom died in 1863. She was only 34 years old. So 3 years after these little girls died, the mom was dead. I think there's other stones right next to this big stone that are smaller stones that just simply say Alcorn. Okay, I think that is where Maggie is buried.
Probably.
And I think that is where, she's buried in Maggie's buried in Cincinnati, and so is Emma.
So I bet that's where the mom's at.
And then also, I suspect this is we talked about Madeline. She's not listed anywhere but in one place, and there are no dates with her. So I think that she died in childbirth, okay? Or the mom died and Madeline died near the same time. So that could explain the child on the headstone. There's at least 3 kids buried there with this mom out of the 6 kids that she had.
And the child on it looks like it's wearing a dress.
Yeah, you're right. It does. So it could Maggie, Emma, Madeline. They were all 3 girls.
All 3 girls.
And those were the only girls that she had. Her others were boys. She had Orlando and William, who both died in the same year, which is also weird, in 1879. But so they were more like in their 20s. Let's see. Orlando was 29, and William was 27. And they died in 79, which was not during the Civil War, so it was after. But I don't know. That's just odd that their kids. And then their baby, not the baby that died at childbirth, but their other baby, the youngest at that time. His name was James, after his grandpa, and he lived until 1933. And I think he's the one that has a lot of descendants. Okay, so.
Wow.
I think I have even another view of this. Yeah, there's the whole thing from the front. It's a beautiful stone. I wish we could read everything on the sides. But
I don't think I've ever seen a stone like that before. With that on top.
Yeah. So his second wife, Mary Jane, I believe she is actually buried in Haven Hill Cemetery. And I suspect that W.E. or William Edgar is buried with her.
Probably.
Although his name is on this stone in Cincinnati with his first wife and kids. So pretty sad, but very interesting. I mean, he obviously had money at the time his first wife died.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's very nice. So if you're ever in Cincinnati, you could look that up. But if you are currently watching this and you're in the Olney area, check out Haven Hill Cemetery. Is that what it was? Is that what I said it was called? Haven Hill?
Well, I don't even know. I don't know how many cemeteries are in Almley. Probably like
Yeah.
Haven Hill.
Haven Hill Cemetery.
I'm trying to think of where there's even...
That might be the one that's right there in town, I think.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that looks like a cool cemetery to explore. We ought to put that one on our
list. We ought to put that on our
list.
bucket list. Or cemetery hoppers.
Yes.
Very neat.
Yep. There's, out of all of these 18, 19 kids he had, there's a lot of descendants. So it'd be interesting to know how many of them are still in the area. His youngest child with the second wife, her name was Mary Jane Alcorn Prather. She did not pass away until 1975. So that's not that far back in history to think about it. But yeah, he was from
49 years.
He was from way back.
Wow.
In the day.
Interesting.
But yeah, kind of a cool story.
It's just, you can't even hardly, I don't know. It's hard to even fathom the way people lived. We live so.
Yeah, we haven't made. Count your blessings. Even if things are rough for you right now, you are not a 5-year-old boy on a ship.
Oh my gosh.
And you are not. Hopefully you haven't. Had all these babies that have died, and that still happens today. But back then, it was more. Some of these people we researched, like they might have 10 or 11 kids and only one survive. Yeah. Like it's crazy.
Well, I'm going to finish up our show. We got a little bit of time to kill here. So I pull out my old Back Then in Sailor Springs by Linda Davidson. Mm-hmm. She was a great little writer. I love reading her.
Oh, me too.
Back then in Sailor Springs, there were many barns and stables in town. Barn lots with horses and cattle. Near the spring grounds was a big barn and lot. It had a natural bubbling spring near it, which was used for water for the horses, hogs, and cattle. It was just the thing for convenience of everyone. Horses everywhere, groomed, fed, brushed, and watered, bedded down for the night after a hard day's work. The blacksmith shop had plenty of work to do mending buggies, shoeing horses, and making things to help the farmers put their spring crops. There are a few barns still standing and use in town. Some have been torn down. They were all quite a historical landmark for many of us, just a part of the town's landscape. Always there, always the same, year after year, until one day, quite a shock to realize that they are suddenly gone for good. The ones still standing are in pretty good shape. There is a nice-looking red barn in Sailor Springs, and it is owned by Malbert Franklin. Malbert Franklin is actually my great-uncle, was my grandfather.
Yeah, is that barn still there?
Somebody had bought my grandparent Baldy and Josephine's property with the barn, and I know they did tear the house down. I'm not sure. I have a feeling the barn's gone too, but that makes me sad.
That makes me sad.
And Malbert lived to be over 100 years. I think Malbert was 103 when he died.
Wow.
And Malbert was never married. Jim says that's why he lived so long. It was owned by Malbert Franklin. He keeps it up pretty nicely. It is quite a landmark in town. We all remember the old red barns all across the American countryside. They are quite famous, and Sailor Springs has one to be proud of. The original barn, owned by Dr. Sparling, is still standing on the west side of town. Dr. Sparling Red's barn is still standing. Mm-hmm. It was used by Dr. Sparling for his cattle and horses. Mm-hmm. It is still used today and is quite a landmark. Pretty neat to see. It is, way back then, barns were quite a big part of life and were forever in the towns everywhere, especially on the outskirts of the bigger towns and inside the limits of little villages across America. After all, the barns need to be close to the owners' houses because horses and buggies were the main mode of transportation in those days. The barns had to be convenient for the people and their horses. The men would be tired after their day's work. Here is a little poem about Ode to Old Barns by Linda Davidson. Always remember the old barns of the past. They were quite a fact of life back then, a part of our childhood. It's hard to grasp. We smile and remember them once again, bold, stately, and tall against the blue sky. They were quite the necessity for living in those days. As children, we enjoyed them. As adults, we ask why. They have just about all disappeared. Now there are other ways. I don't. It is. My granny had a big red barn in her, and I don't know. We always played in that big old red barn. It's gone. It was up where my Uncle R.C. lives in my grandmother's house.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just right up there on top of that hill, there was a ginormous red barn.
Mm-hmm.
But then it ended up coming down. They get old, and if you don't maintain.
Right. And I'm sure it's expensive to maintain them, but.
Yeah, because even like a lot of farmers and stuff, you don't see. There's nothing prettier than a red barn.
I know, but a lot they all want the metal buildings.
Those metal buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a lot of those are gone. So if you're going to put up a metal building, just make it red and white.
Yeah. Yeah. And put a loft in it with hay. Have you ever been up in an old barn and
all
the hay?
There's nothing better.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing better.
It smells good. My aunt and uncle had one when I was little. That was fun to climb up there and in the hay.
I just remember lots of cats at Granny's.
Yeah. My best friend that I grew up with that lives down in Pope County, she has a huge barn. She's like old McDonald's farm. They have everything. They have the sheep, the goats, the pigs, the cows, the horses, the ducks, the chickens, like you name a farm animal and they have it. And this barn is just so fun to go in because there's animals everywhere. It's just like something out of a storybook.
Yeah.
And and it's huge. And you can like walk to the back of the barn and be like, oh gosh, here's some chicks I didn't even know existed because they must have just hatched. Or, oh, here's a litter of kittens because I didn't even know this cat was in here. And oh my gosh, we just had a baby sheep. I mean, like there's just constant stuff happening in that barn. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Barns have a lot of stories, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, you know who else has a lot of stories?
Jack Handy.
Jack Handy.
So we always end the show with a crazy Jack Handy deep thought.
Yeah.
What's he saying today?
Here we go. Whether they live in an igloo or a grass shack or a mud hut, people around the world all want the same thing, a better house.
Well, that's true.
That is true.
The grass is always greener on the other side. I mean, I know there's some people that just are like really love their house, and I like my house. We've lived in our house now for like 23 years, but sometimes I look around and I'm like, I'd like a bigger living room. Yeah. I don't have a very big living room, or I would like a bigger kitchen, or you always think what you would do different if you have a different house.
We've lived in our house for 34 years. I can't imagine even contemplating moving. Yeah. And there are some people who just move all the time. Who was I talking to the other day? Sue Martin was in the shop getting her hair done, and I can't remember how many times her and Joe have moved. Every time they say, "Oh, I've always loved that house," and I'm like, "You people are crazy."
Yeah, no, I can't.
Yes, they've moved over 20 times.
Yeah, at this point, I can't imagine moving either. I mean, this is the house I raised my family in, and, I just, no.
Well, I'm very sentimental, too. The house, I was pregnant with Mac when we bought it, so every birthday, raising them, their bedroom, I just can't. I'm very sentimental. I'm very nostalgic, as you could say.
I'm sure you guys are not surprised by that.
And, and I just like it, so.
Yep. But
it is what it is. That's it for today, babe.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
God bless you, and have a great day.